So this video is a casual conversation between Mark Berry and Deathsmiles. If you don't know who they are, well, you can check out Mark Berry online. He's with the Hustle Brothers. You can find him on YouTube. Deathsmiles you can only find on Reddit, but he does a lot of due diligence on Hover, and well, we all like Hover. So if you are a fan of Hover, New Horizon aircraft, and just want to know some information about them, I mean, we're going to be talking about all sorts of stuff. It's really all speculation, most of it, but it's kind of fun to just contemplate potentials, whatever could happen, all sorts of interesting ties. But take everything with a grain of salt. This is all for fun, just a little chat, and I just hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching.
So how you guys doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
Good, good. It's good to talk to
Great.
you guys. So
Yeah. Do you enjoy the channel, the content that we can put out?
yeah. I mean, I sit back and just watch it, and sometimes I'm like sitting there going, I wish I could just jump in and kind of enlighten you guys a little bit on some of the stuff, because sometimes you guys go off in you know odd directions or whatever. But
Yeah.
I'm just
So
mainly focused on Hover. I don't really pay attention to any of the other EV companies and what they got going on and what they're doing. I just kind of looked at all the designs right off the bat, and the Hover one just hit me like a ton of bricks. So,
Mhm.
um, my background,
Blah, blah, blah.
got a lot of experience, just life experience running a business.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I look at Brandon and what he's doing, and I feel like he's doing everything the right way, and then I start digging in and digging in further and further. And the more and more I learn, the more and more I feel like I'm just investing in my own company or myself, that he's basically exactly what I would want to be if I was in this industry, going after this or whatever. He's just got it by the nuts.
Yeah.
And I did a bunch of work at the airports and stuff, and you talk to a bunch of the old timers, and they talk about, the last thing they want to be in a failure is a helicopter, that they much rather be in a plane and they can go glide it down somewhere and this and that. And I look at all that and I'm like going, just from talking to the old guys in my experience, this makes total sense. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I don't know. Anyway, that's kind of like my deal. I love the company. I've been researching and researching for probably a year.
Yeah.
I've uncovered as much as I think I possibly can. And I've gone down
Yes.
just about every rabbit hole there is. So,
So that yeah, that's my what really piqued my interest was your claims of their linking with Bombardier. Is that some of the things you found going down a rabbit hole?
yeah. So basically, this William George Brumder guy, once his filing came up, because we were discussing like who could potential manufacturers be. It was just a general discussion we were having in Reddit, and we were throwing out like, oh, it could be them, it could be them. One person brought up, maybe Bombardier, and it was just kind of like we were bouncing the idea around. This William George Brumder posted a filing, and then as soon as he did, we started, background checking him. Who is this guy? What is he doing here? Like, what? How is he involved? Like, so after going down rabbit hole after rabbit hole on that guy, we found out that he was deep in cryptocurrency. He was moving money from this account to that account, going to the Cayman Islands and then back to the US. And it was just like, what the hell is going on? Like, why is this guy got to move money from here to here to here to here to here to get it back? You know what I mean? And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. But maybe I'm uncovering some kind of a money laundering thing, or I don't know what I was starting to get into. So I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of odd. But he's moving money around. Some of the money ends up in Hover. I see he starts doing all these donations and everything right before he files. His grandfather is deeply tied in the DoD. He helped form DACA and all that. So
Is he US or is he Canadian?
no, he's like his grandfather, I guess, had the Milwaukee Journal and then
Okay.
was some kind of a banker. And then he was sitting on the board for DACA when DACA was founded and all that back in the 60s.
Okay.
So, like, the 60s timeline totally correlates with aerospace back then. You know, that was the thing. Like, what's the next big aircraft? So it's like, okay, so he was kind of involved in that in some sense. And how was he involved? Well, he was a banker, so I guess he was moving money around for people. I mean, I don't understand how they do a lot of what they do behind the scenes, but it was kind of obvious, like, okay, his grandfather's a banker, he's moving money all over the place. Okay, well, and then I started finding out that he ended up moving money to this consulting firm shell that ended up basically jumping in and getting all the zoning dealt with for Bombardier for one of their facilities or whatever. And then he ended up being involved in two of the permits for Bombardier. And I was like, okay, well, that's kind of good, but like, what's going on there? And you start digging more and more, and then you realize Kanzo Investment Council bailed Bombardier out with bonds or whatever back in 2020. You start
And
looking at Brandon actually had this X5 or half scale going back around 2020, right? And
mhm.
then they start going through this AFWERX project and the DoD and this and that. And then it's like he drops off the radar for a couple years. And then
Brandon
they do
does
this
or
whole thing
William
with
does?
Astro, and they remerge and they reform the new Horizon company, and they kind of pop back up. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it was just kind of like watching all that go down, backtracking on all the history, looking at like when the filings took place, looking at the timeline as when, Brumder got involved and helped with whatever these permits were that they had. And it's just they ended up sharing the same address on these shell corporations that they were using to transfer money around. So, like, it's not like Hover's directly linked, but this guy is. He's like directly linked in one way to Bombardier. He's directly linked one way to Kanzo Investment Council. And then he's linked to all these other guys. And you start looking at like his age, and he's in his mid 40s. I'm in my mid 40s. And you start going through, okay, well, where did this guy go to college? Who are his friends? This and that. And then we started to uncover, like, he's just really deep. And he's very to himself. It looks like he tries to fly under the radar, and he has flown under the radar for a long time. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's all these filings he's doing for basically defense stocks. He's jumped into Hover, he jumped into GoPro, he jumped into ParaZero, which is like a parachute company for UAVs. And then he jumped into TRON. And when you look at the TRON stock, you're like, oh my God, this thing looks like a heart attack, like a meme stock. It jumped from, 20 cents to like $25 or whatever. And it's like, and then you look at that and you're like, why is this guy buying more? Like he's buying more of this Tron stock
Hold
or
on.
whatever, right?
We just lost Mark.
Oh, we did.
Uh, yeah. Maybe his phone died or something. Let me text him real quick.
But yeah, I mean, it's just he's got friends
Oh,
in
there
high
we go. He's coming
places.
back. There we go. We lost you for a
Sorry
sec.
about that, guys.
We're good.
Yeah, no problem. So anyway, we started digging, and we have another guy that really dug deep into Brumder's filings, and then we ended up uncovering that he was friends with Jared Kushner, which I guess is Trump's stepson or whatever. And I was like, okay, like, so
Yeah,
he's
no, it's
somehow
his son-in-law.
son-in-law, right? So I look at
Hmm.
that and I'm like, okay, they're like the same age. Like they must have ran around, in college or somehow they got to know each other. But this Brumder guy is like highly linked. He's old money in the DoD of defense sector. And it's just like when you start diving deep on Brumder, it becomes rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole. And it's just like, oh my God. Like,
So, all right, but that, I mean, so what do you think? You think that Brumder is basically going to link Bombardier and Hover to into like a manufacturing partnership,
well, I'm
or
I'm
Hover's
almost
going to or Bombardier is going to get involved?
so I've honestly been looking at the X5 as a UAV for a while. And,
Okay.
Brandon made a comment uh, several months ago about, the defense guys when they were out or the recon guys when they were out doing their testing in the field, once they saw the wings folded up and they could load this thing on a trailer, they're
Yeah.
like, dude, sign me up. And I was
Yeah.
like, I looked at that and I'm like, dude, like if they're all of a sudden just getting all excited about it, just coming out for the testing, then that's, we're lining something up there right off the bat. And you start looking at Bombardier and what they've been doing, and that the X5 is actually something that it's not like they just built it 6 months ago. They built it back in 2020, 2021. It
Yeah.
went through AFWERX. It went through all this other testing. So Brumder comes in 2023, right after Hovr does all this restructuring and BS and whatever they do to get out of whatever deal they were in prior. And he starts working these permits or whatever he's doing to expand the manufacturing facility. So there's two different addresses. One, it looks like it has to do with thermo-logistics or something like that. And the other one, the permit says hydroelectric power systems. And they're expanding the facility by 60,000 square feet. So I'm looking at that going, okay, so Brumder got involved in 2023 with the permits. All this other stuff happened prior. Obviously, there was defense people involved that were looking at that back then. Brumder's definitely tight-knit in the defense network. And here he is helping Bombardier. They must be producing or wanting to produce the X5 as a UAV. And when that factory comes online or they begin doing whatever they need to do, as I don't exactly know the details, I just know the construction schedule and the factories are all due to come online the end of this year, like December. One of them comes online and the other one comes online in like January, February of 2026.
And that
And
was
those
those.
might just be either dedicated directly to producing the X5 as UAV and then transitioning over to the X7 later, or perhaps they're using those sites to do the prototypes of the X7. Like, I don't personally know exactly what they're doing. I just am putting all these kind of dots together and making a map and kind of coming to,
Sure.
I
Yeah.
guess, educated assumptions.
Yeah. 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 So the filings for what is going to be completed at the end of the year and in 2026, that's for thermo-logistics, and then the other one was what?
Hydroelectric power plants is what they had listed on there for the permit. And then they had something else where it had to do with defense interest or whatever, and something with the zoning wording. So whatever zoning they had to get dealt with, because they're doing like a hydrogen containment area also. So whatever zoning they had to do with environmental on that ended up prompting Brumder to get involved to basically get it pushed through or whatever.
I see.
Is it kind of making a little bit of sense, or?
No, well, like you said, it's a rabbit hole and it's a lot of dots that are being connected. I,
Exactly.
I mean, I agree with you. If I mean, you look at Bombardier, you look at their history and what they've done, um, and the fact that they're a Canadian company, the way Bombardier is set up, the way their stock structure is that the family always has majority vote, so that they can't be bought out, or there can't be a hostile takeover by the Chinese or anything. And because they're a hardened, like, we are a Canadian company and we want to keep this in Canada. And Bombardier in the last 7 years has really taken a beating. They divested their trains, they divested the commercial aircraft, and they really just kind of circled the wagon into private jets. But that doesn't mean that they're not a manufacturing conglomerate. So I mean, if the dots all connected, yeah, it would be awesome to see Hover team with Bombardier, or Bombardier just buy Hover, or whatever. Um,
Right, and it could just be that they're leasing the facility under a shell company too, because that's kind of what I found with the logistics end of it. It seemed like whoever, because that building's done, that whoever's in it right now, or doing whatever in it, it just seemed that route to me, I guess I should say.
yeah. Do you know how big? Like, if you look up Horizon Aircraft and you just go to Google Earth, I mean, it's just a single hangar at
Oh
a
yeah,
at a really
yeah, and,
small
and then
airport.
you look at Brandon, and he's talking about we have access to the climate controlled wind tunnels and stuff, and there's only a couple locations that have that.
There are, yeah, yeah,
So that narrows it down big time.
that's true. Depending on what is, if I mean, access to is one thing, funding to get into it is another, right? Like,
Right.
I have access to the NASA tunnel if I've got the money for it, but I don't. So, um, I guess you could. I mean, I agree with you. I like Brennan, and I'm bullish Hover. And I agree with you from the aerospace design perspective. Hover is the best package of all of them that are out there right now. I think Hover's, and we've said this on the channel, Hover's kind of in a league of its own, though. Its use cases are far greater. That is a regional transport compared to Joby and Archer, which are just going to be very, very the last mile type thing.
Yeah, and I agree. I pretty much only bring up Joby and Archer when it comes time to comparing market cap. That's about it.
True. Yeah. Well,
It's kind of like, hey guys,
yeah.
this
The
one's
only
really good.
the only big difference that people are forgetting though is Joby and Archer are going after operations, vertical integration, uh, whereas Hover is just going after design. They're not even going to be manufacturing like we're talking about. They might partner with Bombardier for that, right? So they're not going to be doing anything in house. So the
Well,
Right.
valuations are according to, like
No, I get that,
Tesla.
but then I
Tesla
look at
does
like
everything
Brumder and
in.
his donations, and I'm like, Brumder's donations and whatever knowledge he has of whatever things are getting passed or approved or whatever, because I'm not that deep into what's next week as far as what's on the agenda for international and this and that. And if you look up Kanzo.org, I guess he somehow donates money to that public entity also. It's like a nonprofit company that has to do with, I think, international travel, where they map out destinations between different countries and stuff like that, flight patterns and AI stuff that they were doing. I don't know.
well, again, and I mean, Archer, you're right, Matan. The Joby is very vertically integrated, and Joby wants to own their aircraft and lease them out through their 135. Archer does want to sell, and I think Archer wants to sell to operators. But also Brandon, you look at what Brandon is hiring up, what Hover is hiring up. Um, and they're hiring up engineers and manufacturing people. So I think my experience in aircraft development, and I've got 20 years of it, you start with a concept, you build a scaled model, which is what they've done, and you demonstrate your concept. And then from there, you build a full scaled model. And along the way, you get funding unless you're, independently able to fund. Um, and then from there, from your full scale model, you get all your data, and then you start going down the certification process, which is kind of the path I see Hover doing. Um, Unless they were to get bought out or got some sort of funding. Um,
So the path right now really is for them to get funding to be able to manufacture. I think. I don't think
well,
I don't think Brandon's gonna sell. By the way, the way he speaks,
I
he
wouldn't
says
sell either.
he's
Yeah,
he says
yeah,
he's in this. I saw him on a LinkedIn post. Some lady said like, "Oh, some lady was offering him a job," which is so silly. He's CEO
right.
of a company.
Stupid.
It says it on his thing, and he's like, "Sorry, I'm full-time permanent." Like,
Yeah.
I thought that was just a nice little response, like full-time permanent, like he's staying forever. I don't know, but he
What?
gives me
What?
all the vibes that he's not selling. He
Yeah.
Well,
just needs funding for.
I mean, on another point, the X5 though, as a UAV, we're not talking full certification process, and if
No,
we're
you're not.
using that for a military drone, we're talking a whole nother process that's a much faster timeline.
They could start manufacturing and deploying those very quickly if that came along.
Right. And then timelining Brumder and its interactions and the manufacturing and all that, it's very possible that there's some kind of non-disclosure thing going on with a
Could be
government deal that we won't know about until
till
the
after the deal's
government's
done.
already
Yeah.
taken delivery on 100 of them or whatever. You know what I mean? That's just the way it works. I've done government contracts myself.
Yeah, but
uh,
if you're a publicly traded company, if they start getting revenue, they have to disclose that,
right. Right, but
right?
I don't know. See, and that's where it becomes this whole dark horse. Like I don't know exactly how that all works, but if you dig deep enough into non-disclosure acts,
Yeah, yeah.
there's workarounds for a public company.
Of course, yeah.
And I, of course, I'm not saying that's, I don't know if that's what's going on, but if the government says no, we can't let this information out, we need this all to be separate here, and then they set up a shell company, and then later it gets disclosed and added to the books, I mean, that would
Well,
make sense.
let's think though a little practically. What reason would they even need to hide the fact that they're just purchasing, an X5 or something? It's not like, it's not like some submarine or some weapon that's going to be like against China or whatever. Like it's just for, internal use, some flights and logistics or whatnot. There's no, I don't like what reason should they hide it?
Well, you
Well,
know,
like it all depends on who the end user is, I think.
We're talking about the military though,
yeah, I
for the
mean, a
most part.
UAV X5 is not something you're going to be able to go out personally and go buy, I wouldn't think.
Well, you can. I just think if there were if like if there's a military use case for it, and there very well could be, then the, and let's go down that road. If there is a use case, the military wants it, um, and they have the funding for it, and they'll say, all right, make us 5 of these or make us 10 of these. We're gonna start testing them or using them. Even if Horizon can't talk about it at the next earnings call, if they got money that came in, they have to report that money. They can't hide it.
Right.
So, and they could say, well, we have another program, and that would be awesome, because that would start showing a revenue stream. Their balance sheet would start looking amazing, and this thing would be off to the races. But we can say the same thing about any company at this point. It's it is interesting to go down the whole who's linked to who. Um, but Brumder sounds like hands on all sorts of stuff. So, you know, whether he's dedicating, you know, like what would be his main focus? Is it, all right, I play in 8 different sandboxes and Hover is just one of them, and
Good
Well,
point.
that
yeah,
means
I
Like
mean, he's
venture
taking
capital, kind of.
underneath or just underneath a 10% ownership in each company.
okay.
So I don't know what picture that paints. I know
No,
that if
that
you're over a
I mean,
10% owner, there's a lot more disclosure before you do any trading.
yeah,
I mean,
Um,
that paints a picture though to me that he's operating almost like venture capitalists do. You know, they're okay with some losses as long as one will be a big winner. Maybe it's
yeah, and
Hover,
then
hopefully, but if Hover isn't, I don't think he,
right,
I
and
don't
but
know,
I
did he
kind of
mind
look
that
at it like,
much?
well, if he's trying to play it like that, like if he was able to put all of his money on one of those 4 plays, which one would it be? I think it's Hover.
or you want it to be Hover,
Well, I guess yeah, I do.
Good.
like,
But I mean,
Maybe
if
you
you
should
look at
reach out and ask
Tron,
him.
I mean, that's just a wild stock to look at, Tron. I mean, Matan, you looked at Tron, right? I mean, that's
No,
just a
no.
wild one to be into, in my opinion.
what's the ticker?
TRON.
Okay, yeah, I'll take
No,
a
but
look
I
at it.
was just on the Tron ride in Magic Kingdom 2 days ago.
How
And
ironic.
then the ParaZero makes sense. It's for drones and it's for dropping supplies or whatever via parachute out of these drones.
That's true. Yeah.
So he's jumping into that. And then GoPro, you look at GoPro and it's body cams for the military, which is one avenue besides all the retail stuff they do. But I guess they have some kind of a camera that goes on the front of the fly-by-wire drones that go up in the air that's removable. Some kind of an ISR camera or whatever. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe
Yeah.
you have a little more information on that kind of stuff, but
Wow.
I just looked at all that and was like, okay, it's all has to do with kind of the same theme. It's like, and you're deeply tied in defense. So what do you know?
Yeah. Um, they're all possible avenues is my take.
Right.
I think, uh, at least this is my perspective of Hover, is investors actually came to Brandon's dad and then they put together the package, which is the S5 and now the X5 and now the X7. It's If I had a crystal ball or if I were forecasting out, I think that there are tranches of money that these investors have set forth because they said, this is what we want to do. They're not going to, investors aren't going to come to you unless they're going to be all in. At least that's because typically you go to the investor doesn't come to you. So under that premise, I would think that it's going to be it's performance based. They had the money, they got the money that they needed to build their half scale model. They've done it, they've demonstrated it, and they did it on a skeleton crew. Now they've gotten their next tranche of money because the investor said, okay, now you need to go build a full scale. And they have come out honestly and said, we have the resources, the runway to get to our full scale model. Um, at that point, once they build their full scale model, these investors are going to come on with the next tranche of money and will potentially continue. And there could be other opportunities. I am all for like anybody saying, yes, you don't have the capability to scale up, build a manufacturing facility. Any one of these companies, like right now, for Hover to get through certification, it's going to cost them $1 billion, and half of that $1 billion is going to be tooling and facilities. So Bombardier has that tooling and facilities already. They have the resources. So that would be an excellent uh, intellectual property win for everybody if they could team with Bombardier. but
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm
there's nothing.
hoping Brumder's kind of sidelining the whole deal, you know?
Again, though, you're hoping, and I'm
Yeah,
hoping
well,
too.
yeah,
I'm
I mean
hoping along with you,
there's
but
a
there's
lot of
nothing.
rabbit holes I've been down, man.
But there's nothing to substantiate it. Yeah, there's nothing
Yeah,
to
there's
Yeah, it's all
substantiate
nothing
it
that
yet.
unconfirmed.
directly
So
links Hover and Bombardier substantially. It's
Sure.
just Brumder and whatever he's done, and the
Okay.
timelines just kind of seem to all line up.
They do. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Mark, I find that interesting. I didn't know that's a huge green flag to me. I didn't know the history that basically he did the X5 and the X7, you're saying, because investors came to him. I guess they saw the X3, they're like, let's make the X5 or something. And
Yeah.
they backed up, like, instead of him reaching out to people, people came to him. That's
If you go
extremely
back,
interesting to me.
if
I'm
if
just,
you,
yeah,
I'm sorry. Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, I'm just curious if that is like something you look at as like an investor sometimes. I have another company for you later if you want to talk about another
Okay.
time. That it's
Okay.
the same story. This lady is basically solving a huge problem, and investors came to her like start a damn company. But we'll
Right.
talk about
Yeah.
that later. Um,
Yeah. If you watch the first, sorry, if you watch the first interview that Brandon did with the Hustle Brothers, this was back in May. I believe he talks about that. He says that a group of investors came to us. His dad is, he's like, my dad's kind of old at this point. So, he wanted me to get involved, and that's how he got involved. At least that's what I understand. If I'm, let me, yeah, don't
okay,
post that
no, no,
publicly. But if my
fair enough.
memory, if my memory, if my memory is correct, I think that is the case. So if that
Yeah,
is the
Even if that
premise,
is
pretty much.
semi-accurate, I will ask him maybe on the next interview to confirm that because I'm very curious of that. That's like one of the biggest green flags to me.
Well,
Um,
so if you want to get into that, get into his family legacy, his grandfather and his work that he did, and then obviously his father and the patents. And
mhm,
the whole purpose of all this is, Brandon wants to carry on that family legacy and continue to
yep,
build that patent portfolio per se.
yep,
So that to me is just very positive, family oriented, something that I would do myself, and I look at everything he does and I'm just like, dude, you're a golden dude. You're rock solid. I like the way you do business. It looks like you're going to give everybody these projections or timelines, and then more than likely you're going to beat your own milestones. And that's the kind of thing that's very positive, for a business. And that's the kind of the
mhm,
way you want to set yourself up as a business. And I would do the same thing. So, I'm looking at what they got going on possibly behind the scenes. I'm looking at their actual public timelines. And then I'm kind
mhm,
of cross referencing it, going, well, even Brandon said if somebody came up with a little more money and slapped it on the
yep,
table, they could get it done 6 months
yeah,
faster.
yep. Liam asked that question.
Yeah. So, and if that's kind of already going on, but he hasn't made it public yet.
Well, and the reason I'm was interested in all of your comments is because when we asked Brandon, when we brought up teaming with Bombardier, he kind of grinned,
Yeah.
and
And because of
like
all my research,
it,
that's why
it,
we dove after Bombardier with Matan. I told him specifically, throw out Bombardier to Havilland, because in 2028 their facility is going to be up and running. And I saw
mhm,
that Brandon took a nice ride in one of their aircraft and made a comment on one of their seaplanes or whatever.
mhm,
And once I saw that comment, I was like, well, what's the Havilland got going on? And started going through
mhm.
all their information.
Yeah,
And thought, well, hey, maybe down the road that's where they end up doing their bigger facility, or they start leasing over there and doing their R&D there, because it's going to be a giant facility.
mhm.
So I don't know, that was just another rabbit hole, but that's way down the road.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's a bit of a wait and see. I mean, I've got a good chunk of shares and I'm wanting to buy more, I'll probably be doubling my. I would love to be in a position of
blah blah blah
shares of Hover, uh, purely on the basis of, and this is also, uh, you know, don't post this, but purely on the basis of if they make it, well, then it was worth it. It's like, okay, it was the cost of a,
blah blah blah
Right.
blah blah blah.
I'll go to shit in 5 years, if I enjoy it. So if Hover in 5 years actually makes it, that could be
blah blah blah
or
blah blah blah.
whatever. I mean, that could be a huge take, especially where they're at right now. And and at the end of the day, I believe in the design. I think the design makes the most sense. And I think once that use case, people start seeing that use case, if there aren't companies like Lockheed Martin or Northrop or Raytheon who have already been doing this behind the scenes, they could very quickly say, well, we want to buy this intellectual property, or we want to team with you as well.
Have you looked into any of the patent research I did on GE?
I have not, no.
You need to check it out, man. It's pretty interesting.
Do you have like a repository where you like post all this stuff?
It's
The
pretty
Reddit.
much all on Reddit. And if you went to my actual screen page on Reddit,
Okay.
you'll just get only my stuff. I pretty much only post on Hover.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Let me go down the rabbit hole a bit myself.
yeah, and then I can, Matan, why don't you forward him all the documents I sent you if you haven't already, and give it to the Hustle brothers. That way they can kind of get down these rabbit holes too.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. I'll do that. Yeah. The GE patents, by the way, I reached out to Brandon about that on Friday. And I sent that to him. What it is that he's referring to is GE tried to patent the fan and wing, and basically they couldn't because Brandon already has it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Brandon said that, and he responded like, great message. We're looking into this in parallel as a priority. So, that's something I guess they're aware of now. Thanks
Yeah,
to,
he wasn't
I don't
aware of
know,
it.
yeah,
But then I
yeah.
look at that and I'm like, well, GE supplies engines to Bombardier. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like another link.
Well, they may, but also GE may want to just, I mean, Disney patents everything, and because they want to have control. So I
Right.
mean,
Well, look at the
technological.
post I did. The couple of the GE patents are not active, but the
Okay.
one that is, you should really look at, because it looks like it's not a forward swept wing design, but it's like a drone or UAV version of the X5.
Okay.
With
Looks exactly
four
like it.
fans in each wing, and then 2 fans in each canard in the front.
Canard. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you can see anything. I know you're on your phone. No,
I can't
you're
really
not
see
gonna
it.
see it. Can you see that a bit?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
It looks
So
exactly
that's
like it,
I
GE's
mean,
almost.
patented
Well, just
design. If you check
yeah.
it all out, they have the wings that open, but the wings were to open and fold down, as opposed to the way Brandon did it. So like I
Yeah.
said in my post, I think that would be a rougher transition to go with the wings folding down for controlling the angle of the thrust versus the way Brandon's pretty much done it, I think. But you dig into the patents, because that's all
Yeah.
up your alley, man, and you
Yeah.
tell me what you think.
Yeah. Let me go down the rabbit hole and see what I can find.
Cool, dude.
So where are you out of? Are you in the US or are you in Canada?
I'm
blah blah blah
Okay. Cool. Very cool.
so I'm just
blah blah blah.
I'm
Not a
a
bad place to live.
contractor, and now I'm an investor, big investor in Hover. I do have
blah blah blah.
Okay. All right.
and
Cool.
and I saw that you bought in after the Christmas pop. I watched one of the videos. I
Mhm.
actually had been buying in long before that, and I probably sold you some of my shares on the Christmas pop.
Yeah.
But I bought them all back and then some. I basically was able to cycle my capital out.
Blah 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 blah.
I mean, you look at this stock. You look at the stock at a market, like you said, the market cap. If it gets traction, if they get just, hey, here's this company. If the investing channels start showing, here is this other company with this use case, just in itself, and that stock starts to pop, or investors start coming in and saying, because again, Brandon said they're going to sell this thing for 10 million a piece. So 100 of these would be $1 billion. That's chump change for the military, and the military will buy hundreds. And I mean, they've already sold over 1,200 F-35s right now, right? So you look at, if this became a mainstay, this would become a multi-billion dollar company, and that stock would have to split many, many times. Like, it would get you really fucking rich. So,
Yeah, I'm in it for the 2040, 2050 scenario.
yeah, yeah. And if anything, they just get bought out, and they get bought out at, all right, it just popped to $40.
Yep.
And okay, oh damn, I'm now a millionaire.
Oh,
So
well, yeah, just follow Brandon on his next adventure. That's it.
that's true. That's true. So all right, I do need to get going, guys. I gotta get back into the office. But it was great to chat with you.
Yeah, it was
Would
great talking to you too, man. And and personally, if we ever want to talk, or
sure.
if we wanted to video chat and we're not going to do a stream, I'm happy to do face to face with you or
That's
whatever.
cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I understand. I'm yeah, if we want to just talk more, go down the rabbit hole, I'm totally cool with that. I
Yeah,
really with in terms of the Hustle Brothers and the live stream stuff, I don't want to say anything unless it's really kind of substantiated. Just
exactly.
so I mean, it is cool to have conjecture and be like, well, this is what we think this is what could happen.
Right.
Um,
And
but
I had some of this stuff posted up on Reddit, and
uh-huh.
some of the guys we all talked about it, and we're like, look, let's pull this down. Like
Okay.
this,
Yeah. Yeah.
we've kind of figured it out, but let's keep it under our hat, because it's more speculation.
Yeah.
You
But I
know.
think too, like your thesis, again, if there's investors involved and they want to see this come to fruition, there's no reason why it still can't be a $100 to $200 stock, $300 stock by 2030, 2035. Simply because they will get the tranche funding to get through all of their certification, get into manufacturing, and they'll be off to the races. It's I mean, nowadays it's crazy now that we're talking like, yeah, it's only going to be $1.5 billion and you're good. I mean, that's one dude. Like, yeah, I'll front that, right? So
You're
that
right.
one dude could walk in and be like, yeah, I'm fronting these guys, and next thing you know, boom, the stock's at $100,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
everyone's gonna be like, fuck, I wish I'd have gotten in at $1.50.
can you imagine if the Waz walks in and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to buy into this." That guy doesn't buy into anything. It would be like it would be game changing all over. But I still think him just going there and looking at it at the end of the month, and getting some publicity with Brandon, and
Huh?
putting his hands on the X5 and all that. I think
Is the
he's going to
Waz
get.
gonna go look at it?
Yeah, man, I'm so excited about that.
When was this?
It's going to be September 24th to 26th in Canada. They're going to have that Spot the robot dog on display, and they're going to have Brandon's X5 there, and Waz is going to be the guest speaker. So
Okay.
I'm like,
they're gonna have the X7 there, I
no,
think.
that the X5, the
Sure.
prototype, the half scale, that's the
Yeah.
X5.
Unless they've got a just a model of the full scale.
No, they said they're going to have the 50% there. So that's the
Okay.
first time I think it's actually made it out to the public in a show. So I
Okay.
was like very excited about that. And then the fact that guy from Apple is going to look at it and put his
Yep.
hands on it, and he's a mechanical guru. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy. I'm excited.
The more like they're doing something in the Harvard Club right now. I think
Yeah.
that's this week.
Yeah.
Is it
Tomorrow.
is the Harvard Club? So I agree with you. I think they're going to continue to get more and more exposure, and when you get more exposure, you start getting people talking. If the use case makes sense, then people start putting their money into it.
Yeah. I mean, for the last year, every time I talk to my buddies at the poker table, I'm like, hey man, you guys buying any Hover? And what's Hover? Well, you ever heard of Archer or Joby? Well, yeah, we've heard of them.
That's right.
It's like, well, you never heard of Hover? Come on,
Yeah.
man. Like they're like awesome.
And to that point as well, remember, you're going to have, like, Joby is going to start, both of the information is going to accelerate in that space. And I think, when the tide rises, so do all ships. I think what's going to happen is you're going to see Joby and Archer, the stocks are going to pop and they're going to get overvalued. And then people are going to look, well, what's the next thing? And the next
Hover.
thing will be Hover.
Yep.
and that's only gonna help them. So Brandon said that, he's like, well, we're coming in at the second wave of this eVTOL, or this vertical lift revolution. So they're in a great time. Their timing is perfect for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very grateful. I have been watching this company as long as I have, and got in, when I did, because
Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And other than this, I have Rolls Royce, I have Celestica, I have Canadian Energy Services, I have dividend stocks.
Yeah.
I'm very conservative. I have a lot of physical gold, silver, palladium. I have real estate. I'm that kind of guy. Whereas when I saw Hover, I was like, I'm going to start doing stocks a little bit. I'm going to do safe dividends.
Yeah.
And then Hover just blew my mind, man. And the more and more I dug into it, the more and more I just fell in love.
All right. Well, like I said, I got to get running, but yeah, definitely. Let's keep in touch. You're welcome to, contact me anytime as well if you wanted to, run stuff by me. My background, I've been in aerospace for 20 years. I've been in both on the military side and the commercial side. So I've got a really good grasp of certification and just what that process is and how long it takes and the money it takes. So if you ever want to run something by me, just, I'm happy to give out my 2 cents worth.
Yeah, man, absolutely. We could always have a chat on LinkedIn maybe, and bring Brandon into it too.
Yeah, if he's so willing. So yeah,
I'll get you his number. You guys can talk. But
all right.
Thank you so much for your time, Mark.
Yeah, it was great chatting with you guys.
Yeah, great chatting to you too, man.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Blah 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 blah. Just a lot of blah blah blah, as you heard, but that was fun, speculative, fun chat, and I hope everything is right. I hope we, make it to multiple billion-dollar market caps, and this eVTOL thing is gonna go up and up and up. Anyways, just wanted to share this. It was a fun chat. As always, until next time, guys, stay thinking, question everything, and peace out.